Let's take a second to talk about the mysterious blue note. Some of you may have heard of this term, the blue note, and it's worth just taking a look at. The blue note is basically a note added to the pentatonic scale that gives it an instantly identifiable blues nature. And it kind of looks like this. Let's say we are in major pentatonic. And here's our C major pentatonic scale. And now when we talk about this blue note, we're talking about adding a flat 3 to an otherwise major scale. As we've talked about before, blues in one context is this minor pentatonic that we play over major. And when we had our discussion of bends, we talked about how we can bend notes to make major sound more bluesy and make minor sound more major-y bluesy. Anyway, I thought it might be worth noting just adding this simple blue note. So, C major pentatonic scale, and we're going to add the flat 3 in addition to the already existing major 3. If you remember your chord tones, we're talking about. So now we're going to add Doesn't that sound like blues? Just by adding that flat 3. We instantly have blues. It's simple. It's only occurring in 2 places along in this pattern. It's occurring here, and it's occurring here. And we hear that sort of note resolve chromatically into the major 3. Now, that's flat 3, and that is the blue note. Well, here's another reason why they call it the blue note. If you take the relative minor of C major, and we're talking about A minor in this case, and you play that same blue note, it has a different identity to the A minor chord. It's now flat 5. Well, what does that mean? Well, here's our root, here's our 5th, here's an octave, here's our flat 3. And so when we add that note in here, it sounds like this. And you've probably heard that before. It's a very dark sounding note. That's what the flat 5 sounds like. Relative to the root, it's pretty dissonant. It's basically our most dissonant interval. And it can make something that sounds minor, which wouldn't ordinarily necessarily have a blues context, have a blues context. And as we've talked about, we can bend notes, and that's very much part of the blues, but we can just add this note to minor, and all of a sudden, our minor chord sounds bluesy, even though we're just playing minor pentatonic over a minor chord. So to recap, what's flat 3 for major is flat 5 for minor. And so, we get blues either way, hence the name, the blue note. Because whether it's major pentatonic or the relative minor pentatonic, the same note gives us a blues sound. So, let's add that to our minor and major pentatonic scales, and fold that back into everything we would want to do with a minor chord or with a major chord. So any place that you would want major pentatonic to have just a little bit of a blues, you can add that flat 3. Any place you would want a minor chord to have a little bit of blues, you can add that flat 5. And there you have it, the blue note.